Excited to be here, excited to meet all you guys, and I'm honestly ready to get started.
Total package. He's a playmaker. He can play all three positions. He plays in the slot. He plays the Z. He plays the X. He can run with the ball. He can throw the ball. He can catch the ball. He's a very good route runner. He's a winner. He makes contested catches. He's a very precise route runner as well. A lot of speed at the same time. He blocks at the same time. He checks all the boxes as a player and as a person, and that made it an easy choice.
What is up, Bucs fans? We are back here on a Monday. It feels good to be back. We took kind of some time off, getting away from football for a little bit, but I'm very excited about tonight's show. We have a very special guest in Evan Winter from AtoZ Sports. Evan, it's good to have you on, and how are you doing, my man?
I'm doing good, man. Always happy to be on. And excuse me, yeah, it's it's an exciting time. We've got all the post-draft stuff to talk about, and then plus rookie mini camps this weekend. So happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, what a draft for the Bucs. A lot of high praise from national media. But I want to start off with this. How surprised were you with the Emeka Egbuka pick?
Definitely was surprised. I did not think that the Bucs were going to take a receiver on either of the first 2 days of the draft. But when you really take a step back and think about it, I mean, it makes sense. Mike Evans, as great as he is, he has 1 year left on his deal. Chris Godwin just signed a 3-year deal, but you still wonder just exactly where he is in terms of his recovery, even though the team and himself have been just adamant on the fact that he'll be ready by week 1. We won't know it till we see it, and just how long. I mean, just remember his ACL recovery, right? I mean, it took him a while during the year after for him to really get back on track and get back to his full self. So when you step back and look at it, it makes a lot of sense, especially with what the Bucs can form with Jalen McMillan, Emeka, and Bucky Irving in terms of a young core, cheap players on rookie contracts, while Baker Mayfield hopefully continues to not only outplay his current contract, but if he does do that and gets a bigger contract, those offset things. I'm getting kind of big picture here and starting to ramble a little bit, but either way, yes, there's just all kinds of long and I mean, Todd Bowles and Jason Light both said it best. I mean, there's long-term and short-term ramifications with the pick. So there's just all kinds of different ways to think about it and talk about it ultimately at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. So to follow up with that, do you feel Egbuka could be a number 1 receiver in due time? Do you think he has that kind of upside?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I definitely do. Now, granted, what that means. Yeah, you could have that true X, right, at the end of the day, where it demands that being on the boundary of the offense and commanding those one-on-one matchups. However, you could also be a guy like him. I mean, Chris Godwin is the perfect example. He can be a wide receiver 1, even though he's going to move across the offense, right? And he could be that guy in terms of targets, target volume, and target share. So yeah, 100%. Emeka Egbuka could be that guy. It's going to take a couple of years to get there, and that's kind of why you can understand people have some hesitancy with taking him at 19 overall if he's going to develop into that guy in a few years. But yes, long-winded way of saying I do believe he could be a number 1 guy ultimately at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think, when you look at what he can do as far as production, people have compared him to Cooper Kupp. They've compared him to Amon St. Brown from Detroit. That's been a big comparison. Jackson Smith and Jigba from Seattle. Obviously, the Ohio State ties there. So I think with him, his ability to be versatile, I think that's been a big theme for the Bucs offense as a whole. And you add him, like you said, to Mike Evans, Godwin. There's a lot of things you can, do offensively. And I think when you look at this draft, Evan, to take advantage of an opportunity to add to his strength where maybe the defensive prospects that were available just weren't as good or as, I guess, clean, you would say, because there was just so many question marks with, Jahai Campbell, the injuries, he was dealing with. There was interest in Maxwell Hairston, but again, it's like, undersized, a little smaller. So there was just a lot of concerns with like the defensive players that they were maybe targeting. You know, Jahdae Barron, same thing. Um, when you compare that to Ibuka, he was just so clean, and his ability to come in and fit the culture, I think that made a lot of sense.
Yeah, and let's be honest. I mean, they've got a brand new offensive coordinator in Josh Grizzard, even though he's going to carry over a lot of what Liam Cohen built and established last year.
Yeah.
He needs insurance, right? I mean, if Liam Cohen directing a Mike Evans and Chris Godwin list offense is a lot different than Josh Grizzard, and that's no disrespect to him. That's just the facts at the end of the day. So just be able to afford him more flexibility as a first-year offensive coordinator who's got let's be honest, he's got a ton of weight on his shoulders to be able to, continue what we saw, especially since he only gained players, right? I mean, Ibuka being the main example, it helps there as well. So it's a good move at the end of the day. And again, short-term and long-term ramifications that are in a positive way.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, so Ibuka, obviously adds to the offense, and I think when you look at I guess the one of the bigger weaknesses on this team that were in question was the secondary. And they addressed that heavily on day 2, getting Benjamin Morrison and then Jacob Parrish. So let's kind of, just dive into those guys. I know there was kind of mixed reactions with the Morrison pick, just because, again, he has the injury concern with the hip. And there's just a lot of kind of unknown. But when you see his tape from 2023, you're like, man, this guy could have been a first rounder with it said all and done. I mean, guy's just very talented. But your thoughts on Morrison, and then we'll get to Jacob Parrish.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that I think we got to kind of step back and realize is, and it comes with both Morrison and Parrish, is the fact that while the Bucs need depth in the secondary, and they need not just depth, but they need quality depth, right? They don't need, with all due respect, they don't need Josh Hayes. They don't need Tyreek Thunderberg. Like that's just not going to work, especially when it comes to where this team is trying to go. It would be different if you're just trying to compete for a winning season or just scratch your way into the playoffs. No, this team is trying to establish itself among the NFC's elite, right? The Lions, the Eagles, so on and so forth. So you need not only depth, you need quality depth. But both of these guys, they have the ability to break into the starting lineup. But if they don't, you still have, even though Jamel Dean, you can't rely on him to stay healthy, and he can't pick the ball off to save his life.
Yeah.
Like, even though those are two bad qualities, he's still a good corner when he is healthy, right? I mean, let's just be honest. Yes, he might not get the ball, like he might not intercept it, but he's still a good corner. He can prevent top receivers from making big plays. That's what you want, right? So with him and Zion, you have some time for Morrison to get his feet back up underneath him. Obviously he's going to be ready by training camp. At least that's what they're saying, so on and so forth. So you have time. It's not like an immediate thing that has to happen right off the bat. But if things do develop and they go the way you want them to go, then all of a sudden you're sitting really pretty and you have a super well-rounded room. So, yeah, I mean, you want both guys to come off and hit the ground running. But at the same time, it won't be like the end of the world if they don't.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think, especially like you said, bringing back Bryce Hall, even though he's coming off, a season-ending injury, so it's like, how do you feel about him? But I think what it gives you is it gives you depth that you can take things slow with. Like, you don't have to rush these rookies. I think that's the benefit for like these first couple of picks, basically throughout the draft. Like, none of these guys have to play right away. Right off the bat. Like, obviously you're expecting Ibuka to get instant contribution, but the rest of them, they can kind of develop and kind of ease their way into it. So I think from that standpoint, you feel good about where the Bucs stand with their depth, and obviously we'll get into some concerns here in a little bit. But yeah, Morrison, I was a big fan of him as far as just his ability to play press, his ability to stay locked in man coverage. And he's got, kind of some versatility to him. He can play inside a little bit. He's kind of one of those guys that I think can be almost like a follow type dude, to be, that's probably his ceiling, like his upside is that kind of player. The question is going to be, yeah, can he stay healthy? Can he avoid the nagging injuries and stuff like that, to further. And then Parrish, just expanding on him, like guy's a dog. He's just very feisty, small stature, but he's not afraid of like any challenge. So I think over aggressive when you watch his tape, that can be a problem. But yeah, your thoughts on him, and then we'll get into day 3 fun with David Walker and others.
Yeah, so the biggest thing about both of them too are they, at least for me, are they're high IQ guys
Yeah,
at the end of the day, and that's what you need to be in this defense and able to succeed. I mean, how many times do we talk about whenever the defense does break down on the back end that it was communication issues or just fundamental flaw issues, whatever it might be, something where a high football IQ. And I'm not saying the people on the roster don't have a high football IQ. You have to be able
yeah,
to get to this point in your entire career. But
right.
regardless, yeah, I mean, that's just something that's highlighted with these guys at the end of the day. And yeah, you hope that if they can come in and step in, especially with Parrish, man, just his athleticism at the position inside, that would allow Todd Bowles just to do so much more. We already know how creative and unique his defense is. If you have athletes that can match up at these positions
Yeah,
and do the things that he needs them to do, I mean, my God, just imagine the things he's going to dial up and he's going to scheme up at the end of the day. So that's the ultimate end game, in my opinion, is just to absolutely unleash hell on the rest of the entire NFL or NFC offenses. And I guess the AFC as well, too. We throw them in there. But we only know that, ultimately only one AFC team matters at the end of the day, and that's whoever they're playing in the Super Bowl.
yeah.
But still, yeah, like, I mean, if you can get like pure athletes at these positions to do what he needs to do, man, sky's the limit. We all know that.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, I mean, that's, just the first 3 picks. And then we move into day 3, where I thought they did a really good job of attacking, like getting some pass rush ability that have, some upside to them, and guys that could, at the end of the day, I think be rotational pieces for you. And especially you need that on the cheap. Like you get that, you draft. If you draft well, you can keep your salary cap in a good position. They did it with Anthony Nelson. They still have him on the team. So I think you need guys like that. But David Walker was a guy that you had in your final mock draft. So kudos to that. He was, I think, one of the more popular names among like Bucs, mock drafts, and just kind of seemed like a natural target. I didn't know how like high he would go. I always figured it would be like round 4, or later potentially. But yeah, your thoughts on him and just what can he bring to this team as far as being a guy that could sub in.
Yeah, you absolutely love what he brings to the table. I mean, he's, your shorter, squattier guy, six
Yeah,
one, about 265, somewhere in there. I
yeah,
can't remember the exact measurements off the top of my head, but he's going to be that lower to the ground type physique that also
mhm,
has speed to power. He's got a wide array of pass rush moves.
yeah,
And his character is off the charts as well. So he just fits that absolute perfect mold of what the Bucs are looking for in a player, especially at the position. And I mean, yeah, you don't want your pass rushers to be too short and squatty at the end of the day, but especially on the edges, Todd Bowles has made it work. We look at Shaq Barrett, right? I mean, they just signed Hassan Reddick, even though we're still yet to be seen. There's a very good chance that he works out as well. So, um, when it comes to that kind of thing, especially when you combine it with his motor, I absolutely love what he can bring. And yeah, he can be more than just a rotational guy at the end of the day. He does have the traits to become a number 1 pass rusher. Going to take a little bit of time and it's going to take
mhm,
some development, but
yeah.
it can happen ultimately at the end of the day.
Yeah, I really like what I saw out of him. And yeah, guys, if you haven't checked out our channel, we have all 7, or well, how many picks? Yeah, we had 6 picks. So
6,
sorry.
yeah.
We have all 6 draft picks up on the channel. Tez Johnson is going to come out tomorrow, so stay tuned for that film study. But yeah, David Walker, I mean, just really stand up guy. Yeah, it's unfortunate, he's already, he's a little older. I think that's something that you just have to get used to with the COVID situation and the upcoming drafts that are coming through. Any thoughts on that as far as like teams continuing to draft older prospects? I know because Walker's already going to be 25, so
Right.
it's like how do you play into that kind of factors?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really all just depends on where you're taking them in the draft at the end of the day, especially the
Right.
context, right? So we're looking at a fourth round pick, number 121 overall, who's entering a crowded position group on this
Mm,
roster, who's probably just going to be, let's be honest. I mean, yes, his ceiling is he could break into that top 2 or 3 rotation, but most likely he's going to be that edge 4 or edge 5, maybe even edge 6 guy throughout most of the year. So, if he can just break in and play 15% of snaps, but get 3 or 4 sacks on the year, even
right.
2, just whatever, just playing positive reps or providing, rather, I should say, positive reps, carving that role. And the thing about all these guys in the same room is they're all on limited deals. I think Chris Braswell is the only one with 3 years on the deal. Everybody else 2 years or less, just off
Mm.
the top of my head. So, I mean, there's plenty of opportunity there. So, but either way, I think if you get positive contributions just over the course, of the first couple of years, then you're headed in the right direction.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think what it comes down to, and what the Bucks, obviously measure is the tape. If the tape is good, they're gonna like you in some form or fashion. And again, it's just like you said, all about value and where you take these guys. So that's important. But let's get to this is one of my favorite draft picks because as you know, I'm not a huge fan or not a fan at all, really, of defensive tackle Logan Hall. I've made it well known that the Buccaneers need to find a way to upgrade or try to get better in that area. And I think with Elijah Roberts out of SMU, I think he can be someone at the very least that's going to provide some pass rush juice off the bench besides, just running in Greg Gaines and others back there that really didn't give the team much as far as the depth piece goes. So your thoughts on Elijah Roberts and does he have an opportunity to maybe steal away some key snaps from Logan Hall?
Yeah, when I say this, I'm not saying the dude's going to be a Pro Bowler or anything like that.
Right.
But at the end of the day, when it comes to all these draft picks and just how they can be used within the context of this team, Elijah Roberts is kind of 1A
Mhm.
to the selection of Emeka Ibuka, honestly, at the end of the day, in terms of just how he can be used, what he could mean, so on and so forth. And yeah, I mean, when you look at, with all due respect to Logan Hall and what he's provided, he's coming off the best year of his career, showed a lot of promise last year. So, there's a lot of excitement to be had around him, no matter the disdain from your half of the screen. But regardless, and hey, I'm right there with you, man. The guy has been frustrating. So I'll
Mhm.
just be on the record for that. But either way, what he could provide in terms of just the rotation, the flexibility alongside the defensive line. I mean, they're even talking about standing him up on the outside from a 2-point stance and sending him off the edge like that. So, I mean, just again, when you get athletes playing these positions in Todd Bowles' defense, the sky's the limit in terms of just where they can line up and what he can do. And that's exactly the mold that Elijah Roberts fits. And I'm excited to see what he can do. He provides a lot. 6'3", 285. I
Yeah.
mean, Logan Hall, I think he's a little bit over 300 now. They talked about him, picking up some weight last offseason, but 6'6", 285 when he first came in. So,
Mhm.
a little bit shorter, but a lot broader, a lot stronger. Yeah, man, it'll be interesting to see what he can do. One thing we always talk about too, real quick, with Logan Hall is his pad level. Well,
Yeah.
shedding those 3 inches really helps with that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Elijah Roberts, that's something he's got to work on as well. The consistent pad level. Sometimes he plays a little bit high, gets him in trouble. But for the most part, I just love his violent hands. He's got good hands to work with, the power that he brings, has a good understanding of what he's trying to do. And I think that's the main difference between him and Logan Hall. Logan Hall is getting there. So hopefully that continues to happen and grow. And he can earn that big contract that he's striving for. But And then, lastly, we'll finish it up here with the 2025 draft as far as the Bucs go. Tez Johnson, the smallest guy in the NFL. The Buccaneers make it happen. I mean, very quick. I think he's much faster than his time 40 that he had. A lot of concerns there. Inconsistent on tape, and I think that's why he fell to the 7th round, not only because of the size. He had issues with drops and stuff like that. So your thoughts on Tez Johnson, and does he have a real chance of making the roster?
I mean, yeah, when you look at what he can do specifically in the return game, he definitely has the chance. And that's where he will make this roster. That goes, when you get to like the cornerback 5 and wide receiver 5, even the running back 3, tight end 3, 4, like when you start getting those positions, linebacker 4, it's all about special teams, right? At the end of the day. So if he can carve out that role the Bucs don't have, I mean, Bucky Irving did do some good things last year, but I think after seeing what he could do, if Tez can show, that's the biggest thing. He's got to show that he can do it right. They're not just going to be like, hey, we've got a guy who's pretty good at returning kicks, but we're just going to hand it to you because, whatever. No, he's got to show he can do it first. But if you can do that, then it makes sense to, if Bucky's going to get snaps, it needs to be in the running back capacity, especially since this is a game of football and anybody can get hurt at any moment, right? You want to limit. If he's going to get hurt, would rather him get hurt running the ball than returning the ball. But regardless, definitely a role there, especially in the screen game too. He could be kind of a gadget guy in the receiver room over the first couple of years.
Right.
But yeah, overall, definitely there's a realistic chance that he can make this roster, especially in year 1.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm there with you. I think again that's the class overall. I thought was really strong by the Bucs, and we'll see how it plays out going into the season. Real quick, I want to get your thoughts on just the undrafted free agents. Like, if anyone like stood out to you, like you don't have to name them all, but just maybe 1 or 2 that are standing out.
Yeah, so not gonna lie, whenever it comes to the UDFAs, I follow the dollar signs more than I do the reputation because, I mean, let's just be real, the dollar signs are gonna tell you more.
That's what talks.
Yeah, exactly. Even if the dude that gets all the guaranteed money or more than the rest doesn't make the roster, and I mean, most likely though, you're gonna get an idea of who the head start is. And Mark, what's up, man? It's good to see you, bud.
Long time no see, buddy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But Ben Chukwuma, obviously, that's number 1 comes to mind. Jake Majors is another guy. That's one thing I pointed out right before the draft was the Bucs didn't have like any true center depth at the end of the day. I mean, they talked about Ben Bredesen sliding over, even possibly Elijah Klein as well. But that's another guy, those 2 spots. And then, honestly, and this is going to sound a little crazy, but Connor Bazelak, what he did at Missouri there for that one season, I think it was like 2022, maybe 2023. He shows some good things. Interested to kind of see, what the Bucs do in terms of the bottom of the depth chart at quarterback, even if they did re-sign Kyle Trask. So those are my guys to kind of keep an eye on.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome in, Mark. We welcome my co-host to the show. It's good to have you on. But yeah, just wrapping up here with Evan. So as we move forward, I want to get your thoughts on this, and we'll quickly move. We'll continue this discussion. But what is your, I guess, after the draft and after the, all the 4, everything that has happened so far this offseason, what is your biggest area of concern for this Buccaneers team as they head into 2025?
I mean, yeah, we talked about it. Like, they can take things a bit easy at corner, but at the same time, there's a lot to prove there. Obviously, Jamel Dean, we've talked about his struggles. Everybody knows about that. But Zion McCollum still needs to show that he can continue to be that shutdown guy, especially entering year 4. The Bucs have talked about extending him, or at least getting that stuff going, those conversations over the summer. So obviously that relationship is in a good spot. But still, he's got to prove that. And then what are they going to do at nickel? Obviously Tyke Smith most likely moving to safety. The drafting of Jacob Parrish pretty much all but seals that. But still, I mean, they're still going to have to prove that they can have a guy to replace him in Jacob Parrish or Christian Izine. whoever. So there's still a lot of questions to be answered. And then safety, opposite of Antoine Winfield Jr., can Tyke hold his weight? If he can't, who steps up there? I just think overall, at the end of the day, cornerback and just the secondary in general, there are a lot of questions there in terms of just how things are going to work at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think, secondaries, the issue, they didn't draft a linebacker. I know that's been a, big topic, and obviously the linebacker depth is in question with, Servassier Dennis. Can he stay healthy? Anthony Walker comes in, solid, viable, capable starter. But you just don't have much behind those guys. If one of them get hurt, kind of in the same boat as you were last year, maybe a little bit better prepared for it. But yeah, I mean, it's just very interesting to see, how that plays out as far as secondary and obviously linebacker goes for sure.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to add, like Evan, I was listening in earlier, like you were making it known. I mean, Todd Bowles is a very advanced, I guess, defensive coordinator / head coach, and he'll just throw things at you. It's you don't know where it's coming from. So Tyke Smith, although he played fantastic at nickel last year, he was hurt again when he was off the field. It showed. Now we're going to depend on him to be a safety, like you were just pointing out, right? So you're not 100% what you have in him at safety. You know he's a really damn good nickel, but now you're moving him away from the ball, or does he stay closer to the ball because of how Todd Bowles is and knows how to use these guys? Winfield coming back from injury. He had 2 injuries last year. It's like, can we get him to stay healthy as well? So it's a lot of unknowns. You're saying it's true, and you're relying on a lot of rookie players. But clearly we're not afraid of that. We had undrafted, like you just said, Christian Izien starting a nickel, and he was Todd Bowles' most improved player last year. So I think there is a high potential of like good things happening, but there's also the floor could fall out, right? I mean, I'm not depending on, or I'm not expecting as many injuries as it was last year, but still, like, you don't truly know. There's not a steady Eddie that you can lean on right now because you just named just about everything, and now we're throwing rookies into it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's the fun part too. And like you said, that's one thing that you can feel comfortable about is Bowles has shown that even with Kayvon Merriweather last year, I mean, that dude, played some pretty solid football at times whenever he had to step in. So it's going to be interesting. It's a big question mark, but the cool thing about it, is the floor and the ceiling are both high at the end of the day. So that's always a comfort.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the depth is definitely much more than what it was last year. Again, we'll see. We'll see how that plays out as we get closer to the season. We got rookie minicamp coming up, so excited about that. But Evan, I'll get you out on this last one here. Right now, if you had to put the Bucs against the rest of the NFC, like how would you stack them? Competing against the top teams in the NFC.
I would like their chances a lot, honestly, at the end of the day. And we're just assuming everything works out the way that it's envisioned, right? Everybody stays healthy. Things go down the path they're supposed to go down. Because honestly, I think the Commanders, at the end of the day, they upgraded the offense. I think the offense is going to be top 5 in the NFL, close to what it was last year, if not better. But they lost a lot of pass rush use on the defensive side of the ball, even though the scheme works. So they took a step back there. Giants don't know what the hell they're going to do. I mean, when you look at like the other NFC teams, Eagles, sure, they are what they are. Lions are what they are. Vikings, we don't know what they're going to do at quarterback. Packers are always an EKG with Jordan Love at quarterback. We've seen that the last couple of years. I mean, just overall, these teams that are, whenever you think of the NFC and you think of the better teams, the Bucs are right there at the top at the end of the day. One of the NFC West teams, who out there is really going to scare you? Rams are doing some good things, but that's really about it. At the end of the day, they're easily among the top tier. And if things stay on the path they're supposed to be, they can easily, be in the top 2 or 3 at the end of the day in terms of the NFC conference.
Yeah, absolutely. So, with that said, Evan, we appreciate all the time you've given us here tonight. be sure let the good people know how they can find your work and obviously what you have going on, what's exciting coming up for the summer, and hopefully you got any vacations planned.
Yeah,
Take
actually
time off.
taking a full week off in June, so it's gonna be quite nice. Gonna spend it with my son. He started school full time in August, so I need to spend as much time as with him as possible before it becomes illegal to pull him out of school. You know, truancy and all that whole thing. But anyway, AtoZsports.com. That's where you can find our work. We have just about every single team covered in terms of a dedicated writer basis. Breaking into the college side of things, Travis and his crew, they do excellent work over there, as well as the video side of things, YouTube channels. You can check them out for various NFL teams and college teams as well. And then find me on Twitter at Evan_AtoZ.
Awesome, man. We appreciate it. Thank you so much, Evan.
Yeah, guys, always a pleasure to be on. Y'all have a good one.
All right, you too, man. Take care.
You going, Evan?
So awesome stuff there, Mark, from Evan Winter. Man, it's feels like we haven't been on in ages, but we were on like for 2 straight days or whatever it was. You know,
4
going
straight hours too.
8 hours in total for both shows or whatever it was. It was a long time. So, but it feels good to be back. It feels good to, you know, talk about this team because it's exciting times. I think, I mean, I'll let you go and just speak your mind on this draft. I mean, overall, top to bottom, you got to feel good about it. You know, obviously there's still concerns like we mentioned, but from what they were able to accomplish, you have to feel pretty confident that these guys can come in and help right away.
Yeah, I mean, as someone that's going to be real, I guess, a stickler for their team, I'm always going to be like finding the areas of weakness, right? Because that's what other teams are going to do. They're going to find that to attack us.
Right.
But realistically, he said it, like we're always in the competition for the top teams in the NFC, right? Todd Bowles may annoy some people with the middle of the season lulls.
Yeah.
He has plenty of reasons and excuses, to be honest. But offensively, they just got even stronger, right? With Ibuka, I heard you guys wondering if he could be a number 1. Possibly could be. And like, you can't pigeonhole him to be an X or whatever the hell you want to put him. Cooper Kupp was moved around all the damn time. This is the type of offense we have. So if you have a weapon, you're going to use the weapon. So that's how I see it as. So I don't understand where he has to be a certain guy like Calvin Johnson. There's not many guys that can just go on the outside and win nonstop. So
yeah, for sure.
I think it's just another weapon for Baker to use, for our new offensive coordinator, Grizzard, to ease into and find ways to mismatch like Chris Godwin is, because he is like almost a 2.0, but younger and healthier, right? So you can't get mad at that. I slightly did during the draft, but yeah, you can kind of reason with it. But defensively, we got a whole bunch of more upgrades. Yeah, time will tell. I still think they're bigger upgrades that we needed, clearly. And I like the people they are, not to mention they do perform and produce at the collegiate level. So let's see what they do in here. I guarantee that cornerback room is now like, holy shit. Like, there's competition here. I may lose my job. Like Jamel Dean.
Yeah.
It's a second away. So, I mean, let's see. But there's question marks all around. But I do like Todd Bowles' ability to use fast players. And he just got a lot more of them. And like you mentioned before, Logan Hall, tighten that chin strap. You got to go to work this year because you never know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, almost like the Yaya Diaby taking over for JTS. Logan Hall, someone's coming for you. Just saying.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, we give Logan Hall a tough time here at Real Bucs Talk, but it's kind of warranted because when we watched him in the draft and did his film studies, we did, I think, multiple film studies, one before the draft and then one after, and it was just kind of the same things that we saw of. I mean, if let's say Logan Hall was a 5th round pick like Elijah Roberts, we'd be like, man, this guy's outstanding. This is great pick, great value, great everything. But for him to be a second round pick at the top of the second round, it was just kind of tough to gather and fathom that that was the Bucs decision, and just kind of like just didn't make sense at the time. And you're hoping he becomes more. Last year I thought he made strides. Was it all good? No, there were still plenty of negatives, but he made progress in that sense. And we'll see. I think the biggest key word that you mentioned was competition, like competition to drive these players to better themselves. Jamel Dean, I think, was a great comment here by Steven. He says Jamel Dean in a make it or break it year. And yeah, I mean, it pretty much is for him. I mean, he's going to be pretty much fighting for his roster spot. And he didn't really have that the last couple of years. Ever since SMB left, like there really was no one to really, challenge him. And I think that's what Todd Bowles was talking about when he like got bored, he was like getting bored on the field, stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, I mean, to bring in guys that are young and hungry, I think that's very important.
Best comment of the night right here.
What's this?
Aaron, death, taxes, and plus shits on number 90.
Yes, all day. All day. I do it with purpose, guys. And Logan, just it comes from love. That's all it is. It's out of love. It's nothing personal. I want to see the best from you. And we're hoping that happens this year in a contract year, so you can get, like Mark loves to say, the bag and make it happen.
If it's from Tampa, I'm gonna lose it. I mean, we're not personally making fun of the dude. It's just more evaluating his play.
Yeah, it's just what we see on the field.
I mean, he's slightly gotten better with power, I'll be honest. But like when you evaluate his tape coming out of college, he was just wanting to get around guys.
Yeah.
Swim. Let me get around. Attempt to get over and play high. And you just kept seeing it. And then you'd see him in the running game, you get plowed over. It's like, how does this fit into what we want to do on the defensive front? He's very much changed, Todd Bowles. I'll say that, with the way he uses his guys. It's literally like weapons. He's just getting guys that he can play within a scheme, but also find ways to use them to attack. Like Elijah Canty, we're blown away, right? So I see what he's doing. He's just wanting to get athletes to attack, and that's what you got to do in today's NFL. Like the offense, the game is made around the offense. The defense has to find a way to fight back. I think he's just getting a whole bunch of smart athletes that can play and create crucial roles. I mean, Levante David's the brain, so someone's going to have to take over the brain. Yeah. It's not just going to be speed all the time. Someone has to tell these guys where to go. Because Devin White was speed, but he didn't have a brain. I mean, everyone saw that. You couldn't knock it. And then attitude got over it and drama filled. Then he got out. So Logan is not him. I mean, getting past the Logan Hall stuff, it's more right. Either way right now, he gives you good depth because he's your starter right now. You have Roberts who could compete, right? Competition, we're talking about that.
Yeah. Who
is the other bigger guy? I don't know how. I think it's a big hope, but Desmond Watson, it is a big hope. I mean, if he gets down, 370 is 100 pounds off from where he was. So I don't know if he's going to get down to that.
Yeah, he's at 437. I would say if he could lose another 30 or so pounds to get, 400 or less, if he can get under 400, I think that's a good starting point. And you just continually try to work and get him more, stronger, more muscle, and try to get him, moving in the right direction.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be fun to watch if he does make it to preseason.
Yeah.
I mean that seriously too. But I mean, I like the massive competition influx, the massive bodies you brought for that defensive side. Your offensive side, you didn't really need to do much. And then you upgraded massively in the wide receiver room, which I didn't think would be possible.
Were you surprised by that?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I think everyone was. I was upset at first because I'm like, why? Just why? But then it makes the point. Like, clearly there wasn't a defensive player that they thought was of value at that pick. Because Ibuka was that much better than the next guy.
Yeah.
And to be honest, he is. He's very much consistent. Like again, going to the number one wide receiver role thing. Like, give me a guy that's going to consistently do the job right. I
Mhm.
mean, you don't need to be Jamar Chase. You don't need to be. I think I made the comment during the draft. Like in the same draft, Jamar Chase and Jefferson were in. Jefferson was he was the second fiddle. He just did everything right, but he's not the elite athlete that Jamar Chase was. I look how damn good he is.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's going to be his trajectory, but still, like,
Yeah, I
just
think
do small things right all the time. You're going to get the ball.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that, you look at Justin Jefferson, the guy's a beast. I mean, he knows how to get open, he knows how to catch the ball, he knows how to fit what he's doing out there in Minnesota as far as scheme. Like scheme matches his skill set so perfectly that they just understand how to unlock his best self. And I think that's the most important thing when you're looking at Emeka Egbuka. Kind of does the same things. He gets open. He does the right things. He catches the football with his hands. He's just a really good player, and I think you can capitalize that. Now, how far does that get maximized in Josh Gazard's offense or the Buccaneers' offense? That remains to be seen. We'll have to see how that plays. But right now, I think you have to feel really good about just having offense that can basically line up. You don't really have to out scheme teams right now because you have so many options to go to. And I think that's the beauty of it. I think that's going to help out Josh Gazard a lot. But I wanted to ask you this, Mark. Looking at this draft, if there's anything, I guess one or whatever, however many things, like, is there anything that you would change for the draft or players, or strategy of how they went about things? Was there anything that you question or would change?
I mean, I think it's obvious I wanted a linebacker
Right.
just to add to that room, considering Levante's aging veteran. What if he does take a step back? The unknowing of, is Servassier going to stay healthy? I know we gave the comparison of like Joe McCoy, his first 2 years, back-to-back injuries, and then he was just healthy for a long period of time. So we're hoping the same thing with Servassier. He's good when he's on the field, but also Evan made a great point pre-draft. Like, he misses a lot of tackles. Like, his tackle miss rate was very, very high. So are you really going to truly depend on that? And then, you bring in Anthony Walker. I answered my own self. I'm like, I guess we got a serviceable backup, but still, it's like Deion Jones is in there, good veteran. I can see where they're like, okay, we're okay. We have enough. But I don't know. There's nothing to hang your hat on and like, we know kind of thing. I guess it's difficult in a lot of rooms, but in the way this defense is, it's attacking middle linebacker, Abe gap blitzes, how glaring it was last year that they didn't have it. I mean, I would have hoped they would have brought in someone in, but they haven't. So that's the only thing I would complain about, and that's just a personal thing. But regardless, like, the guys they brought in were all good, like good people. You can't knock that. Like, as long as they're good people, they're going to put forth amazing effort, right? It's better than just having an amazing athlete that doesn't give a crap. All these guys are all full on football and produced at the collegiate level and are ready to rock and roll. And that hypes me up the most about it when you look into the person.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think, for me, things that I would have changed probably, like you said, adding a linebacker. Chris Paul Jr. was our guy. I was hoping they would have taken a chance on him, especially on day 3 when he was there to be had. I thought that would have been, an interesting pick. It would have been maybe, but again, they weren't as high on this linebacker class as a whole. It was a weaker class in general. And they could very well be having their eyes set towards the 2026 draft where the linebackers are much better and it's more depth in that area to attack. So that'll be interesting. And, they feel really confident about Servassier Dennis. And I think when you look at it from that standpoint, they feel like this guy can be a Pro Bowl player. Like, they feel he can be a top-notch linebacker for them. So that's a lot of confidence in this guy. You just hope he can stay healthy and make those strides that we saw glimpses of, but can he do that consistently throughout the 2025 season? That's going to be the question. And then just to add to that, I was, hoping they would have maybe attacked safety. I know there was some hope for maybe Xavier Watts in the third round instead of Jacob Parrish. That would have been a fun pairing. I know you already drafted a Notre Dame player, but to add both of those guys, that would have been quite the duo, quite fun to have. And you could keep Tyke at nickel. So that's probably, the biggest question marks for this team, in my opinion, is safety and what happens at middle linebacker. I think the pass rush is still a question as well, because we don't know, what are we going to get from Hassan Reddick? What can we expect from him? And I know last year the Jets, that's a messy franchise. Like it's pretty much a dumpster fire. At least it was last year. I think they're turning things around in that organization with the people they brought in, but it's a place where a lot of players just went and they just didn't play well. They went there and they just didn't do good. So maybe that's the case with Hassan Reddick, or is it something more? That remains to be seen. So yeah, man, those are my thoughts on like team concerns. And another good point here, just to add to it, is this offense still going to be as good as it was last year? Can it surpass last season? Can it be better, or can it just be right there, like as far as top 10?
As you said, we're going to take it to the next level.
Next level, yeah.
Like,
Can
like
we do that?
I mean, but this is the fun stirring of the pot stuff,
right?
Where it's like, we could give you all the best news in the world. We have all these new weapons and everything, but you just don't know.
Yeah.
Like, you got another weapon. It should be the same exact things as last year, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that. It doesn't. And it is something you got to think about. Like, because Grizzard, you may hear all these good things from the players. Oh, he's a wizard. We'll call him the wizard. Yeah. And Todd Bowles is confident and wanted to keep continuity. Sometimes that isn't the best answer. Let's be honest. Hopefully that in this situation it is. And Baker's continuity with the play caller is something that gets him to be even better a quarterback, because he's 2 years in a row he's gotten better. Mm-hmm. Can he get any better? He had almost 50 damn touchdowns cumulatively, right, last year. So you hope so. If the Jimmys and the Joes.
Yeah.
But I mean, offensively, everything's there to succeed. Either way, you're going to have to lean on the offense. Defensively, the question marks are all over the field again. It's not just a play caller.
Yeah.
It is. First of all, it starts with the play caller, because sometimes he just gets so conservative and just leans back too much. Mm-hmm. Is he going to start attacking more? Did you do enough to increase your pass rush where you can rush with just 4? Hassan Reddick, we've known from past, is damn good.
Yeah.
With that 1 year, like you just said. And he didn't have success with the Cardinals when he was I mean, that wasn't Todd Bowles, but still, like that very similar scheme. I mean, he's a more proven player now. Yaya, does he get back to the numbers he had? He had good pressure rates, but does he actually get to the ball? Does Kalijah Kancey stay healthy? Right? Mm-hmm. Does Jamel Dean stay healthy? No. When Morrison gets in there, will he take the flag and run with it?
Right.
McCollum? I think McCollum's good enough. I'm not going to ask him to be this lockdown, shutdown corner. I think he's a good player. I
agree.
Overall, like, give me the same as last year. If you get even better, great. But if you're like last year, I'm perfectly fine with that player. To me, it's more your pass rush, what are your linebackers going to give you, and then Tyke, can he take over that safety spot and be a weapon, or is he going to be taking a step back because he's further away from the ball, kind of thing? Those are my bigger question marks.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I understand the concerns. I mean, very valid. When looking, you mentioned Benjamin Morrison. I've already been on the record. I expect him to compete right away and potentially start. Like I feel like he's that good. He's that technical, that sound, and he's got the IQ to come in and contribute. Again, but still questions. Like that's still a question mark because we just don't know. That's just a personal opinion of mine. Doesn't mean he's going to live up to that. If that was the case, the Buccaneers would be multiple Super Bowl champions, and we wouldn't be worrying about any of this because we would just be right all the time. But some cases we are right all the time, but that's another topic to discuss. But I wanted to bring up, this was actually a good comment, just to like touch on this real quick. This is probably a good separate video we could do later on in the off season, but your thoughts. Devin Lloyd has been kind of made available. He didn't get his option picked up. Could the Buccaneers go after him, or I'll rephrase that? Should the Buccaneers pursuit of Devin Lloyd and maybe bring in another linebacker to kind of shake things up, but also give you more ability at that position?
Plus, it's a linebacker. Clearly, I'm going to say yes. I mean, I just think we need to add to that room. I mean, regardless of
Right.
either way, he was a good player coming out of college. He was, again, in a bad organization that didn't really know what they were doing with their players. So that's another, give it to a guy that knows what the hell, how to add to a massive group, not just force a guy to play a role, right? Like, let's actually put him in a position where he can succeed. You always hear Bull say that. I think he's just an overall good linebacker. But there's also the guy from the Packers. What was his name? His didn't get picked up either.
Yeah, Quay Walker.
Quay Walker, another extremely good downhill player. I just think that would solidify a lot. I mean, I know Deion Jones, when he was out there last year, was phenomenal. Like, every time I see him on the field, something good was happening. I just think that's an area where you can upgrade even more and bring more competition, because you did it everywhere else. And I'm very happy with that. But yes, Devin Lloyd is a go for Mark.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think, again, if the Buccaneers could have a redo on the 2022 draft, like, he's probably your draft pick because you're already seeing that you're moving on from Devin White, and you just take him at 27 instead of moving down and taking a lesser talent in Logan Hall. So when you look at it, I think he would just be a good addition, because you could just add a proven guy, like a proven starter. And I think that's what you need, especially at the linebacker spot, where we don't know what we're going to get from Levante David either. Like, you just don't know when that last step is going to be taken as far as his ability. Like, is the decline going to start happening quicker because he is getting older? Last year I thought there was some signs of decline, but he still played through it. And he was also playing in a position where it really wasn't his forte. He was the Devin White guy last year, where, he was blitzing so much that that's just not his game, really. They were asking Servassier to do that in the beginning of the year, but he gets hurt and kind of shifts gears for everybody. So, yeah, linebacker, I think if there's a veteran that comes available, they should definitely, at least talk about it, call, and see what they can do. But I want to also bring up this point that we talk about guys being healthy, but this is a really good one here. Antoine Winfield Jr., like, can we get the 2023 version back? Is he going to come back to that type of form, or is that kind of just a one-time thing? Can we expect something close to that this season? And because the Buccaneers do need him to be that type of player, especially, proving the contract was worth it.
I mean, that's what you do. I mean, your high ticket players you pay them for a reason. You want them to elevate your level of play and elevate everyone around you. I mean, he had one of the best seasons of any safety ever. And then he became average because of injuries, right? But I'm 100% he needs to get back to a certain level, because every level of your defense will improve if he's doing that. So, yeah, you already have a question mark with Tyke going back there to play safety. If you don't have a sound, proven thing with Antoine Winfield on the field, it makes it even more of a question mark. So, yes, you need him to improve and get back to that level of play. Just get healthy, because he is a brain on the field. Just get healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. I think Winfield should bounce back. I don't expect him to have like that great of a season from 23, but I think that type of level of play is something that we can see for sure. And I think also having a more steady presence there on the opposite side of him is going to help. I think Tyke can definitely come in and contribute, but again, still a question mark. And then I also want to talk about this real quick. Just your thoughts on Josh Grizzard being more vertical, and could that affect Baker Mayfield as far as like the overall rhythm?
So I mean, more vertical, I think it's more because he's going to do more motioning at the line. I mean, that's what he did with Miami. They were more vertical because they distracted people to come closer to the line, and then that opened things up deep. It's not necessarily he was only throwing deep. It was more the shots were available to take it. So I don't necessarily think it's going to be like BA's offense where it's just run and gun. Let's just throw this thing deep. No risk it, no biscuit. I think it's a different way of attacking vertically instead of just thinking it's all vertical shots.
Yeah, agreed. So I think we're gonna end it on that note because I think Mark has to go. But with that said, I think we're just going to call it a night. We appreciate everyone here in the chat. We appreciate all the questions. Appreciate Evan Winter for joining us. That was really awesome to have him on. Be sure to hit that like button. Comment down below your thoughts of the stream. If you had any other questions that we couldn't get to, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. And as always, we appreciate all the support. And we'll be back live next week. We have another special guest coming up next week, and that's going to be John Ledyard from who also covered the Bucs back in the Super Bowl years for Pewter Report. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We'll have a lot of great content to discuss when he joins us. But until then, everyone have a great week and go Bucs. We'll see you on the next one.